You're listening to We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation, and I'm your host, Crystle Johnson. We are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. Each week, we share the stories of Black women who have set themselves free from the expectations of others and are living on their own terms.
Okay. I think we live, girl. Are you live?
We live.
Is there any way to tell if you live on Instagram?
Let's see. Yeah, I got the notification.
Okay.
I got the notification on my watch. Let me make sure.
Okay. This is our first time live on Instagram. So
Yeah. I'm live. Hey, y'all.
Amazing. So welcome everyone to another episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. I am here with my sister, Dr. Ashley Gaddy Robbin.
Hey,
Got to give the doctor.
The air horn.
I am you mentioned this in something you posted earlier this week, but it's so many things have kept us from getting together on this episode. We were supposed to record on Thursday at a certain time, couldn't happen. Or Thursday at a certain time, couldn't happen. And we changed it to another time on Thursday, couldn't happen. And then we had to pop in today on Friday. So I really hope that folks were able to join today because we're on at noon Eastern Standard Time, 11 Central Standard Time. Yeah. But either way, whether you're team live or team replay, I hope that you have the opportunity to get into this conversation about truth telling. For anyone that is your first time actually tuning into the series. Okay, looks like we got some comments. Hey, Annie.
Hey, Annie.
So for anyone who has never joined one of these conversations, I created We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation, because we often see liberation as binary, just like everything else. And seeing liberation as binary, as you're liberated or you're not, we often don't leave the room for people to have glimpses of joy and liberation in their lives because they're trying to chase it all rather than trying to say, okay, well, this is something that makes me feel liberated. So I wanted to feature the stories of Black women who are experiencing liberation in their own different ways. And of course, this time we're talking about truth telling, but we've talked about self-love and we've talked about redefining resilience last weekend in Atlanta. So I know that a lot of people are really getting a lot of value out of seeing liberation in a multidimensional way, rather than, again, seeing it in that binary sort of manner.
Yeah.
Before we jump in and I tell you, I let Ashley tell you who she is. If you're listening, we would love for you to let us know where it is that you're listening from. And if there's a Black woman that you think might benefit from this conversation, truth telling as liberation, please share it with her, tag her in the comments so she can join here live, or she can catch the replay. For those who don't know me, I'm Crystle Johnson, founder and retreat host at Design Your Soft Life, also host of the We Ain't Dying for This live series. And I want to pass it on over to the doctor. Who she is.
Well, hello, everybody. Good people. I am so honored to be in community with you today. I am Dr. Ashley Gaddy Robbin, she, her pronouns, and I am coming to you from North Carolina. So I'm born and raised here in North Carolina from the south side of Raleigh. And so I so want to make sure that I am particular in letting y'all know where exactly I'm from, because again, kind of with the topic of today, there are always maybe some socializations or perceptions about things, about places. And so the South Side is really the side that doesn't get that much love or attention in a positive light. And yet it is the foundation of our city. And so I am here repping the South Side of Raleigh, North Carolina. I am a DEI truth teller. I have my own business. I am the founder and principal consultant of Ashley Gaddy Enterprises. And so it's an organizational culture agency that centers humanity in an authentic approach. And so truth telling is the way, is the framework, is the modality, is the practice by which we really shed light to the processes, procedures, and practices that are happening in the workplace and in the everyday world, for people to be liberated as themselves and in their lives. And so that's the work that I do. I'm a year and a half of full-time entrepreneurship. So that's been its own journey. But I am certainly honored to be in community with you today. And I also want to shout out a Black girl. I want to shout out Aisha Majid, because Aisha Majid saw your post, Crystle, when you were like, hey, I'm looking for folks for June to come podcast. And Aisha tagged me because she was like, this sounds like you. And then I reached out and now we're connected. And so Black women know, like, we're in the business, in the practice of community. And then I asked you, Chris, I was like, Aisha, because clearly you were like, I mean, we connected on LinkedIn, but I don't know her personally. And it's like, for us to be here today, off of the fact that another Black woman who doesn't know both of us personally, but saw what you're doing and was like you said, share this with a Black woman who this resonates with, saw this and tagged me because it resonated with me. It allows us to be here. So I just want to shout out Aisha, and I just want to shout out Black women, period.
Yeah. Chills, because we've been connected to so many brilliant and just incredibly wonderful Black women through this series and just through building community. And people were like, oh, you should talk to this person, or you should talk to that person. And it's been amazing. Y'all haven't missed yet. And I don't think you will.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's real hard for us to miss, but I'm just so happy for who you are bringing onto your platform and for what's getting out in the world. Because we need it. We need what you're talking about. We need to be able to press past what has been made, the box that has been made, or the narrative that has been made when it comes to our liberation. And you're dismantling that, you're disrupting that, you're tearing it apart, you're busting it down. And that in a way gives us permission to do the same in our everyday lives. So shout out to you.
Thank you, boo. I love you, sis. You're amazing. And just so y'all know, like, Ashley is not just a guest. Ashley been in my inbox. When she know I got stuff going on, she like, I'm just checking in on you to make sure you're all right. Yeah. I'm just sending you like love for whatever it is that you have going on. Like, she really been checking on me, and I really appreciate that so much, because there's always a lot of moving pieces and a lot of different things happening.
Absolutely.
So to jump in, like, when I think about my mission of helping Black women who are saving the world to save themselves first, one of the very first things that we have to do is be truthful with ourselves. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times, yes, there's things that are happening around us, but sometimes we're the problem. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we can be the problem. Mm-hmm. So we have to be truthful with ourselves. And earlier today, I posted this line from this book that I shared on this live series before. It's called Heart Talk by Crystle Wade. And one of my favorite pieces that she wrote has a line in it that says, love yourself enough to tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
And that hit me so hard the first time I read it, but it continues to hit me harder and harder every single time, because it reminds me that in order for me to move forward, I have to be truthful with myself. Otherwise, I'm going to be standing in the same place.
Yeah.
But I know that that's not a word that we normally hear about truth telling. Truth telling often comes with a very negative connotation, many times because of the outcomes that can happen if you are a truth teller. Yeah. So I want you to, just like, we're dismantling people's thoughts about liberation, I want you to dismantle like people's thoughts around truth telling.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take this in two ways. I'm going to start with this idea and perception of authenticity. I want to start there, right? And so, like I said, how you see me right now on this podcast is exactly how I show up with my clients, is exactly how I show up with my family. Like, this is who I am. And so when I deliver content, when I'm presenting, when I'm giving keynotes and things of that nature, and I say something like, you feel me? People are in the audience like losing their mind. They're coming up to me afterwards. And I'm talking about Black, brown, non-binary, straight. I mean, anybody, right? I'm talking about Christian, Muslim, etc. They're coming up to me and they're like, I am just so moved by how authentic you were when you were giving that presentation, that keynote, etc. And the amount of times that people have come to me or have shared that they are just so moved by it lets me know that's because true authenticity is rare.
Yeah.
Right? And so I released code switching years ago and kind of my own liberation, right? But so I don't think nothing of it anymore. But for a lot of us who are socialized to code, to stay within the rules, to stay within the silent norms in order to be seen, respected, valued, promoted, etc. Seeing authenticity in practice is really, it's like a epiphany. It's like this outer body experience that people have. And so it made me ask the question, why is this so rare? Well, why are people so moved more by the authenticity of my delivery sometimes than they are the content of what I'm sharing, right? And that really allowed me to kind of open up this research and this work around truth telling, around authenticity, and kind of look at systems of power. So my degree is in cultural studies. And so I kind of, through my academic experience, study systems of power. And so I understand both the individual level and the systems level, and we'll talk about that a little later. And like, I like to bridge I like to be the bridge between the two. But authenticity as a system of oppression, if you will, has been used to kind of stay away from that. Like, let's create spaces to ensure that folks are not their true selves. Let's create code in order for people to not be themselves, because there is value, there is power, there is liberation in that. And so that's the first thing that I wanted to bring up, this kind of aha-ness around authenticity that reminds us that it is so rare, and to really encourage us to kind of break past those codes in order to be more authentic on an everyday basis. The second thing is, like you're saying, kind of debunking this perception around truth telling, or to tell the truth, or the truth in general. The reason why it is perceived is, one, the receiver of truth usually is left with some feelings of guilt, of shame, of conviction, if you will. And oftentimes, the way that the truth is being told is in this very aggressive, militant way, because truth telling is so rare in our everyday lives. We usually don't tell the truth until we're pissed. We usually don't tell the truth until we're at our last nerve.
Exactly.
And then, because we've been silent this whole time, because we've been quiet this whole time, because we've been letting it slide, because we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because we've been doing this stuff all alone, more times than not, when it's time to tell the truth, we're ready to give it to them all the way.
Ready.
And we're gonna say, and we're gonna let you know, about what you did this time. We're gonna let you what you did 2 years ago. We're gonna let you know what you did 5 years ago when I told you. I did not tell you. I mean, we're gonna let you have it. So imagine now, and granted, emotion is very valid. The feeling of being on your last nerve is very valid. But now imagine giving it the truth to someone in this way because you on your last nerve and you're a Black woman. Those two things combined get turned into this militant aggressive. It plays into this trope of militant aggression. So now Black women scared to tell the truth on a regular, everyday basis because of the fear of being attached to the trope. And so we have to normalize truth telling every day in a way that's more natural, in a way that's more organic, so that we can, disrupt this myth that truth telling equates to aggression, and then by doing so, it equates to guilt and shame.
Yeah.
When honesty is one of the best gifts you can give someone. It's one of the best gifts you can give yourself. So we have to debunk this idea of truth telling and normalize it on an everyday basis.
Yeah. And also ask yourself, like, why am I feeling attacked? Because
Absolutely.
9 out of 10 is more about something with you than it is the person who is telling you the truth.
That's right.
Well, when you were talking about people who walk up to you after and they say, "Oh my God, like, thank you for being so authentic." Somebody gonna cancel me for this.
Let me see how many viewers drop the line after you tell the truth.
It stresses me out when I see people do this in keynotes. I'm like, I can't even trust you right now. I don't trust you at all, because this is it is like the thing that makes me be like, okay, they about to lie. They about to I can't even trust you or take you seriously. And I know that it's the way that people have been taught to like speak and give keynotes, but to me it just reads so inauthentic. And I can definitely relate to those people who walk up to you and say, hey, like, you have been so authentic. You resonated with me so much. I can't believe you came up here and did X, Y, and Z. Because there has been a time within my career where I didn't see any Black women. And the Black women that I did see, they were very much buttoned up. Very much not showing up as themselves, because they would give in one voice, the telephone voice.
We know, everybody know the telephone voice.
Exactly, the news anchor voice. Then she talked to me later, and I'm like, oh wait, like I didn't even know, like, this is who you are. And I realized that there is like a lot of fear that obviously comes with that as an individual for being able to show up as yourself. So I've experienced that myself, and I am sure that there are lots of people in the chat, and I'm sure you've experienced it at some point, when you were code switching. Tell us about how that impacted you, like not being able to show up authentically, feeling like if I show up authentically, if I tell the truth, that this is going to happen. I'm going to lose everything. Because I think that's the thing that we often hear or feel, is that I'm going to lose something. If I don't show up in the way that someone wants me to show up, if I don't say it in a way that they can receive it, if I don't, like, one of the things I often hear is, let them arrive there on their own. Like, so around it enough so then they can arrive there on their own, and then it's their decision. Not your proposal or your decision. And that's really stressful.
So I will say this. So I'm the daughter of activists. I'm the daughter of organizers. So I didn't see a lot of corporate code switching, right? I didn't see a lot of, now my mama did pick up that phone and say, hello, it's Jackie Gaddy, right? And I was just like, you literally was just fussing me out. You see what I'm saying? Like, you was literally just giving it to me, and then that phone rang. You was like, hello, Jackie. I was like, that is wild to me. So I say all of that to say, even kind of in my childhood, even when I was in college, kind of the way that I at least spoke has always kind of been very tied to my natural being. It was when I wanted to start shedding light on the truth of people's stories and systems and inequities, where it really started to impact me. And so, ironically, kind of, even though I was showing up very much kind of, at least in my voice, very authentically, I chose the major of broadcast journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And broadcast journalism is a field where, you know, you have to kind of have a certain way of talking for your anchor voice, for your.
I need to hear the anchor voice.
And so, I interned at a station, and so I was covering a story. They were like, "Okay, you know, what are you gonna say?" And I was like, I was Ashley Gaddy at the time. I'm like, well, I see is that. This is Ashley Gaddy reporting to you live from WECT in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we would like to shout out the Wilmington Badgers baseball team, or whatever. Well, you know what I'm saying, whatever it was. And then I worked at Verizon Wireless in the call center, and I had to record my greeting. It was, "Thank you for calling Verizon Wireless. This is Ashley speaking. How can I help you today?" Right? And so it started to shift when I was on camera or on the phone or live.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to sit with myself and say, what am I doing here? Although I had the audience connection, although I had the customer connection, the human connection, I would leave. I see a comment that says it is stressful and exhausting. I would get off the phone being like, whew.
Yes.
Like, the call won't that tedious, but why am I so tired? And so that's when I really had to have a conversation about kind of the way in which I was even showing up on camera, on the phone. And then when I wanted to kind of explore the truth around narratives, and so I entered my master's program, and we had to do a thesis or a paper on Wilmington, North Carolina. And we were going to each do a piece, and we were going to do ethnographic research, and we were all going to each choose an area of Wilmington. We were going to put our paper together and submit it to a conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody is like, I want to do the battleship. I want to do the vintage shops. I want to do, you know, the nightlife. And I was just like, I want to do Castle Street. And if you know anything about Wilmington, North Carolina, Castle Street is overwhelmingly where Black folks are. And I wanted to be like, let me go over here to Booties. Shout out to Booties. They're not there no more, but it's another place that I like to. But I was like, let's tell the stories of the people who's on the next block over, 2 streets over from downtown Wilmington. And they were like, ooh. And I was like, so then what's the coding even within research? What's the coding even within data? So code switching, I teach on, you know, I do presentations on code switching, but also code reading.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to read code. You know, and Black women know when you read something and you know what they mean, you know what they're really trying to say. Because we've been trained to read code. That's why we can be the best truth tellers, because we've been socialized to code switch, but we've also been socialized to code read. Mm-hmm. So we know when you don't care. We know when you lie. We know when you're genuinely not interested. We know when your numbers are off. So it really got my gears grinding, as you can tell, because I'm already louder on the call. I'm already elevated, and just thinking about it, that really impacted me, that I had to work hard to tell the truth and work through coding, code switching, code reading in data and research. Mm-hmm. So I had to do it in dialect and I had to do it in data. And I was like, no more. So I got the PhD. I'm doing qualitative research. I'm talking to Black women who receive government assistance. Their stories are being told. Their stories are being published. And we about to be out here. And that's it.
Wait, tell us about the study, because I was reading through some of the stories. Tell us more about it, because I was reading through one of the stories that you did, and it was like,
Geraldine's Journey. So my research looks at Black women receiving government assistance and the ways in which they resist and persisted and persisted through the year 2020, as when the 3 factors, Trump, COVID-19, and the murder of George Floyd, was simultaneously impacting them. Yeah. And so not only do I look at these factors separately, I also look at them simultaneously. But the core of my research is not the oppression. It's not the challenges or the barriers. My research questions and my research looks at the ways in which they centered their power through what I call everyday resistance strategies to press past the oppression that was happening to them, to move on, to persist, to act politically in the process of dissent. And so my argument shows that Black women receiving government assistance, again, who have been socialized to not engage, like they don't engage in politics, they, all of these socializations about them. I debunk that by truth telling again to say, oh no, Black women who receive government assistance are absolutely engaging in politics every day through acts of resistance, persistence, and dissent in order to resist these challenges of 2020. Yeah. So I center their power and their truth in that way. And so what you read was my published article in the shout out to Spoken Black Girl magazine. You can check it out on Amazon or digital, Spoken Black Girl magazine. I'll look at resistance and motherhood in 2020 for Geraldine. Geraldine is a woman I spoke to. So it's called Geraldine's Journey. And it talks about the ways in which she used everyday resistance strategies to press past losing her Medicaid when Trump made a decision around Medicaid, and also COVID-19 and the survival of her son.
Mm-hmm. I love that so much. And I love that you focused on resistance and you focused on liberation and the ways that we experience joy, because we are so much more than our trauma. We're so much than the oppression that we face. And these systems are long-standing. They've rooted. And it's deep. And yes, we should fight against those systems, but I don't think that we can throw ourselves away in doing that.
Yeah.
Because yes, change will come and it comes incrementally. And if you dedicate and commit all the energy that you have to trying to change the system, girl.
That's like that, like code switching every day to go to work is exhausting. And then if you feel like I have to by myself tackle the entire, you know what I'm saying? I'm the one who's going to change the whole thing. The thought of that has me tired,
Yeah, absolutely. I went to watch this play that I shared about in May. It's by Dr. Lisa B. Thompson, and it's called The Black Feminist Guide to the Human Body. And it talked about this exact thing, just how Black women take on everything. Like we are the ones that are on the front lines, fighting, doing all the work, forgetting about ourselves. And when she flashed all of the pictures of different Black women that we love, and historically we say, oh my God, like Bell Hooks, for example, died at a young age. And I think the age range that she called young, and it's scientific, but it's less than 75, I think. So if you're younger than 75, then you basically died young. So many icons and legends, activists that are Black women who have died at a young age because they have put it all out on the line. And we love them for that. We thank them for that sacrifice. But they forgot about themselves. They forgot about taking care of themselves. They forgot how much being everything for everybody can put a toll on you.
Yeah.
It really does invite disease into your body. Because you're not taking care of yourself anymore.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And so I think that kind of is a good transition into kind of what does truth telling as liberation look like for individuals, like for yourself. And, when we were kind of on our connection call before here, we talked about the fact that, we said, you might as well be honest with yourself. You might as well do the thing that you're feeling. Yeah. Because here's the thing about life. The thing about life is that it will show up and make you. So if we are proactive with being honest with ourselves, and what does that mean, Ashley? Right. Another beautiful thing about Black women is like we are deeply tied to the earth. We are deeply tied to spirit, to whatever that is for you, right? We are deeply tied to each other. So I say all that to say Black women have an intuition that is world changing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're honest with ourselves, you know when something ain't right. If we get quiet enough, we also know, like you said earlier, we also know when we ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to tell the truth to ourselves to say, I probably could have handled that a different way. I probably need to follow my intuition and go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to apologize. Ooh. Right? It tastes like vinegar coming out of our mouths, but I probably need to apologize. And I'm speaking to myself as a mother at this point too, right? This practice of apologizing to your kids is not something that's popular in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
I know I raised my voice a little too hard at my daughter. I know that I responded too quickly. And then after she gave her thought process, I was like, ooh, right? So when we are quiet enough and we're intentional about creating spaces for our own critical self-reflection, the truth is there.
Mm-hmm.
We probably need to follow the truth proactively and organically, because if we don't, life shows up. And guess what? It don't care about your quiet time. It don't care about your timeline. It don't care about your plans. Life will come in and disrupt your entire world and make you do the thing you knew you were supposed to do in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just surrender to our truth, ladies, people, Black folk? Why not just surrender to our gut, to our intuition, to what we know is true? Because when we are proactive and when we surrender individually, organically, naturally, it places us in tune. It places us in tune. When we prevent it, when we hold back, when we're stubborn, when we're prideful, then we're fighting against it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when life come in, and then, again, we're fighting against it. So that's a whole lot of energy we already spending on fighting against it. And then life come in and knock us on our whole behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then we getting up, snot nose crying. I guess I should have done it anyway. You knew you were supposed to do it 3 months ago because you felt it. The truth was in you. So
Yep.
that's how we have to do truth tell as liberation individually. Is one, we have to create quiet space for critical self-reflection. 2, we have to be honest about all of us, even the parts where we know we ain't right. And 3, we need to organically, proactively, naturally follow that truth and surrender. Surrender is the key word, right? To our truth.
Yeah.
So we are not knocked on our behinds when life shows us anyway.
I'm going to just let y'all sit with that, because I know you said doctor, but I'm like pastor.
Okay, listen, people be saying that or whatever. Now, that ain't no title, but I do be feeling a little, can I get an amen when I'm done, okay?
Well, yes. Oh, yes. We be knowing.
Yeah.
We know. And we try to control the outcome. We think we can control the outcome, but ultimately we don't control the outcome at all.
Yeah.
So listen, if you didn't hear anything else from this conversation, be still and surrender and acknowledge when things aren't right and when you're not right.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's hard to sit back and look at yourself and not blame every other thing that's happening around you, and not look at yourself to say, you know what? I probably should have done something different than what I did. So thank you for that. So good. So how do you help organizations? And how does this show up in organizations? You said something about like Black women knowing when you're not saying a thing. Like when you write something or you're like giving a message and we're like between those lines.
Yep.
We understand we're not taking what you're saying at face value. And I think organizations suffer because of this a lot of times, because they're saying a lot, but not saying the thing that they mean. Yeah. They want to make it pretty. They want people to drink the Kool-Aid. They want people to have on those rose-colored glasses. And ultimately, people know. People know when you're BSing them.
Yes, they do.
So what would you say on an organizational level that they need to be thinking about when it comes to being truthful with the teams at organizations, and how do you help with that?
Yeah. So let me start by saying that it is truly an honor and a risk to kind of promote myself and my brand with this truth telling in the title, with an authentic approach. Like it is an honor and it's a risk because of those socializations that we talked about, you know, at the beginning of this conversation. When I come in and I say, I want to work with your organization to be more inclusive, to center the people who are already there by way of kind of authenticity and truth telling around storytelling and data, they be like, oh, this already sounds like too much. This already sounds like we're going to be exposed. But like we just said, even on an organizational level, take the negative connotations out of this word exposed. And let's say, well, what else could be true? Exposure could reveal the places that we need to grow so that we can then be better. And this is what I try to do for organizations before we even get a contract going, right? I try to even on a consultation call, I ask them to already release these negative connotations about exposure. I help them understand that I am a partner with them. I help them understand that I don't do blame, shame, or guilt. Now, again, like we said, whatever rises up naturally through truth telling, you know, I can't do nothing about that. But I am not coming into your organization saying, let me find out who racist in here. Let me find out. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't my vibe. So the first thing I do with organizations is I help them release this idea of exposure. And then what we do is we call in the word that you're speaking to is performative practice, right? What are these performative acts, practices, policies, and procedures? We look into org culture, and let me define culture, because culture is not the employee handbook. Culture is not the official policy that's on paper. Code is what everybody know is the deal without it ever being written somewhere.
Unspoken.
Culture is, we all know who you need to go to if you're trying to get something approved, right? Culture is, we all know that when they're visiting the office, we all know we're supposed to be like this. Culture is, can be as simple as, without saying it, cameras on, cameras off if we're virtual. Right? That ain't in the employee handbook. Ain't nobody telling you to turn your camera on in the employee handbook. But once you get there, you're like, oh, we're a camera on, camera off culture. It's that informal practice that everybody gets connected to, but it impacts so many. And so we kind of look and we do assessments as well, or I do assessments as well, to kind of look at what's performative, We look at organizational culture through a DEI lens, if you will, race equity lens, etc. And we help organizations rebuild and maintain their organizational culture by showcasing the impact on their people. And so we have to be honest about how the people are treated who are already there. I know, and I do work. So let me tell you, if you want to hire for this, please, you can. And I do work on hiring and recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the folks who are already at the joint? You see what I'm saying?
Order.
What about the people who are already there? And if we're not looking and telling the truth about organizational cultures, policies, practices, procedures, then we are missing the harm that's happening every day to the people.
Yeah.
And so I help organizations through assessments, trainings, workshops, guidance and advisory, strategy development to really connect deeply to the truth of their current culture, set a plan for the ways for what we can do to make their culture more inclusive, and doing that through authenticity, like I said, storytelling and data, and really looking at people centered, human-centered, people first processes to strategize, build, and maintain a culture that allows for authenticity, that allows for value. And that's just kind of at an organizational level what I do. What's missing is that people are not pausing, us again, that pause word, they're not pausing again to really take a deep look at their org culture through the lens of authenticity and truth telling. They're saying lines like, well, this is what was always been done. If you are at an organization and they hit you with, this is how it's always been done, that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
That's not coding. That's blatant. You see what I'm saying? Because it is showcasing to you that there is no desire to change. There is no desire to shift. This is the status quo, and we need you to fit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And what true work of org culture, centering humanity in an authentic approach in this truth-telling way, what it does is it rips that all apart to say, what's happening here? What can be done for there to be a better future for everybody?
Yeah.
I'm saying. So that's the work that I do with organizations. That's kind of the modalities and methods that I do it with. And then I also, I do keynotes for conferences and summits. And that really allows me to kind of have these large audiences that are made up with so many different kind of people in the room. And the beauty about intersectionality, or my intersections, I should say, my intersections, is that I can speak at a corporate summit, and then I can go over here and speak at a motherhood summit, and then I can go over here and work with entrepreneurs, and then I can go over here and do the faith-based conference, and then I can go over here. You know what I'm saying? I love what identity does for us. It allows us to be authentic in all of our identities and all of the ways in which we show up. And so I do that too. I say, I'm not just corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And people even look at me and be like, no, baby, you ain't. But I am, though. Like I am corporate. Like if we for real, you probably need me in corporate.
Yeah. Because
if you don't have me in corporate, then you're going to get the code switching status quo person, and everything maintains itself. I'm trying to truth tell, to disrupt, for us to rebuild in a way where everybody good.
Yeah.
So I am corporate, but I'm also, Essence Fest. You see what I'm saying? But I'm also can be TEDx, but I also can be your woman empowerment speaker. That's the beauty of authenticity. It allows all of it to shine. I want organizations to have to shine in all their areas, all their departments. I want people to shine in all of their identities. We got to stop socializing and creating perceptions on things. And that's exactly what this podcast allows us to do. It allows us to even remove the structures in the box to say what we creating for ourselves so that we can be better. And I just love that. I felt like I talked a lot there, but I hope everybody understood.
Yeah, we needed to hear that. We need to hear all of that. Also, bottom line is hire Ashley. Consulting, coaching.
Period.
And clearly, as you have done so eloquently during this session or our time together, you have moved people, I think, to action. I know that I'm always on a journey. We always on a journey.
Absolutely.
And there are things that you spoke about that I'm like, you know what, girl? You need to tell the truth. You need to get your life together. You and I have had like short conversations about like all the things. So even for me, even the person who is hosting this conversation, who most people are like, oh, Crystle, you got it all together. No, like none of us are perfect. And there's always room. Growth and pivoting and shifting. When you talked about authenticity, I thought about like how I arrived here to We Ain't Dying for This, that I've gone through the DEI coach because I've been in DEI for 10 years and I wanted to support new and aspiring DEI professionals to understand how do I approach my work. And then I moved into like, oh, I'm going to do retreats. And then, I connected with some people, was successful for a retreat. And then as I move forward, I'm like, wait, who am I? What am I doing? Is this a thing that I want to do? Or is this the way that I want to show up? Or is this the way that I think people want me to show up? And I'm thankful for this platform because it has allowed me to like arrive back to myself.
I love that. And when we do this practice of truth telling as liberation, I know we on the LinkedIn, so people looking probably from an organizational lens or a job lens. But when these practices press past the workplace, when we are truth tellers and liberate ourselves individually, we're better partners, we're better parents, we're better daughters, we're better sisters, we're better friends. You see what I'm saying? Like, this allows us to be honest, like I said, at all the intersections of ourselves. This allows us to be authentic with our holistic self. This ain't a practice just for the workplace. Majority of my work it maps to organizations because that is a clientele, but this is people. So my work is in everyday people. My research is in everyday people and everyday spaces. So I'm like, I want to make sure that y'all hear me, that this is something for the workplace. Yes, but that when you said that, it just reminded me like, this is for us to be better people. In whatever personal, professional, social situation, atmosphere, environment we're in. This is life stuff. You feel me? Like this ain't your 9-to-5 stuff we talking about. This is life stuff.
Yeah, totally. And if anyone's feeling overwhelmed by, oh my God, like there's so much for me to do, so many things for me to think about, take baby steps. It's mental. You don't have to change your whole entire life tomorrow, but there are things that come up that feel easy for you to say, okay, like your mama cooked a meal and you didn't like it. You tell her that you didn't like it.
And look, that's harder than telling your supervisor that they did something wrong to you at the meeting. I'd rather talk to my supervisor of how they interrupted me and overtalked me and took my idea in the meeting, rather than tell my mama I don't like her food or I ain't hungry. You feel me? Sometimes those conversations are harder than the ones in the workplace, but it's an easy start. Once you do it, you'll feel so good that you stood on your truth
Yeah.
And because it is your truth, it's going to come out in a way that is organic. People going to hear your heart when you're speaking from your truth. One of my ground rules, one of my community agreements when I'm presenting is speak from the heart, listen from the heart. Right? And so when you're in your truth and you ain't got to fake it and you ain't got to find it, Ma, I don't really like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you cooking it, but I don't really like that. And that's going to land differently than just being like, it's nasty. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's going to land different. And so think about that. Think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much when you got to find it. Because it's going back to it being exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to try to find what am I going to say instead of just telling you how it is that I feel.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to find the thing that I'm going to tell you so then I don't hurt your feelings or that I don't have to face whatever consequences I believe are going to happen based on the thing that I'm telling you. It is so exhausting. Listen. I was in the message last night and I even got caught up in this where somebody sent me a message and I needed to just tell them no. Like, no, I can't. And I was like in my mind coming up with all these reasons and all
back
these
in your brain
say to them to get to know. And then finally I was like, what am I doing? Girl, just say no.
No. Look, we'll practice in the mirror. We'll call our homegirl on FaceTime and be like, all right, that's what I want to say. We'll send the email to somebody else to read the email before we send the email to make sure it. I mean, what?
Yeah.
And let me be very loud and clear. This is not by fault. This is not by fault of Black women. This ain't Black women being too much. These are supremacist systems of power that have socialized Black women to have to do this in order to be seen as credible.
Yes.
So hear me loud and clear, people on the live and the replay. The example we just gave is not because Black women do too much. It is because supremacist systems of power have forced and socialized Black women to have to do the most in order to be seen as ordinary, in order to be seen as credible, in order to be seen as valuable. It is not the fault of Black women. It is the fault of systems of power. Disrupt those systems.
Oh, girl, that's gonna be a good clip.
Yeah. Because people take that and be like, oh, y'all doing the most, y'all doing too much. See what I mean? No, baby. No, baby. Let me go ahead and switch that around in your head right now. That ain't the reason.
Exactly.
You can thank white supremacy for that. That ain't the reason.
Yes. Well, we gonna end there because there is nothing else that I can say to end it on a better note. I have enjoyed this conversation with you. Every time I talk to you, whether it's like this, like on the phone, video, or whether it's through messages, I always get so much life from you on the other line. So I really just appreciate you so much. And thank you for speaking life into everyone who is listening. And I can't wait to do this again. I don't know. Maybe I'll come to North Carolina.
Yeah, come on. Or maybe I'll come to where you at. Maybe we create a space in the middle somehow. But it is truly an honor to be in community. It is truly an honor to have a platform for truth telling where I don't feel like we talked about. I don't feel retaliation coming after this. And it just reminds me that because I do believe I am called to do it and do it this way.
Yeah.
And whoever that lands with, that's who it's supposed to land with. So Black women on the call, I see you. I love you. You are powerful. You are loved. Folks who are supporting Black women, get on it. Okay. And thank you, Crystle, for you.
Yes, girl. Thank you for honoring Black women. We love y'all. And I'll be back I won't be back next week because it's a holiday.
But
I'll be back on the 11th.
Okay.
And I will be sharing who our speakers will be for July very soon.
Yay.
So thank you again, Ashley, and everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye, y'all. Peace.
Bye.